Hello, beautiful beloveds. I am Matt Kahn, and as always, this moment welcomes you with all the love and radiant light, always awake and alive within you. As always, it is my honor to be here with you, serving you as the light of divinity that you are, have always been, and shall always be. And even though the light of divinity is always awake within you, you are here on this planet, embarking upon a journey of ever-growing expansion, where even the perspective and perception of problem is simply the invitation into understanding and exploring a deeper, multidimensional process. One that was created for you to spark the remembrance of your divinity, to remember what appears as a human form is actually the power of an energy field, harnessing the power of heaven's eternal light to manifest the will of the universe for the benefit of all. And so we meet in this moment for this wonderful, beautiful moment in time where I was called by the universe to offer you this energy update for September 2023. That's the year, right? We're still in 2023, right? And when I feel into the energy and the theme of September, I keep hearing the phrase, to make it a September to remember. And I want to unpack the insights and the invitation of what that phrase means, making this a September to remember. Because it's very common on the spiritual path, especially in our modern day spiritual journey. It's very common, it's very popular to make one of the things on your spiritual to-do list to be the relinquishing of your past. To say, I'm not my past. And of course, there is a meaning to that because you're releasing your identification to the past. So not to interpret your present or anticipate your future through the script of the past, which is a story that you've survived. You might be still processing and shaking it off, but you have survived it. And so, of course, we want to release identifications to our past. But something that I'm not sure gets talked about enough is how can you release identification with your past unless you have thoroughly learned from your past? Because to release an identity to your past without fully learning and growing from your past is just another form of bypassing and avoidance. And because the universe doesn't create anything in your life just to give you something to throw away. Because everything in our journey has such deep meaning. And contrary to how the ego likes to perceive reality, even when things are inconvenient, frustrating, uncomfortable, and even painful, it doesn't change the fact that there is a deeper meaning of why it's in your life. And even when we learn from our past, the intention is not for us to learn so quickly, try to learn the lessons so quickly, so that we can save ourselves from manifesting it again. We're not here trying to outsmart the hands of time. We're surrendering into complete alignment with universal will. And so it's in this moment that I offer you this energy update, and I invite you into a September to remember. And the way in which we can make the most of this September to remember is through the awareness of remembrance. Often we can see things from a less personalized place when we look back in retrospect. But we only look back in retrospect not to overly process and dumpster dive into who did what and what we think about them, which is equally valid when we're holding space for the emotional processing that occurs. But to learn from your past is to start looking at life through a different lens of empowerment. And in honor of this September to remember, you can ask yourself, who is the person from my past who spoke to me in the most disempowering way? And then we ask ourselves, is there any part of me that has learned to speak to myself through that same voice of disempowerment? Not to shame ourselves, not to feel bad, but in honor of this September to remember. What if we made it a daily practice to say, who is the person that treated me with the greatest amount of disempowerment? What were the things I would have hoped or rather they said to me instead? And can those be the words that I say to myself on a regular basis? And here's the healing, transformative invitation. Here's the multidimensional energetic effect it will have on you. Whenever you are able to say the words to yourself that someone else didn't or couldn't, and even if you don't know what those words are, they're just the opposite of what someone said to you or what you would have hoped they would have said instead. When you can say those words to you, even one moment at a time, each time you do that, you're creating a course corrective experience that allows your present moment reality to begin erasing attachments to identities created out of past moments of anguish, neglect, trauma, and disempowerment. So we use the ability to reflect on our past, only to say, how was I mistreated? What was the way I wish I could have been treated? And can I, in this present moment reality, in honor of this September to remember, become the one who begins treating myself the way I wasn't in the past? Because although there are crucial times in our healing journey to process our pain, it's always wise, as you know from my teachings, to feel your emotions as an act of love. But sometimes we can circle around and strengthen the identity of the one who's been hurt or traumatized and focus so much on what someone else did to you. We overlook the fact that what they did can be undone and healed by you offering to yourself what was either withheld or the opposite of what you endured in the presence of another. And this is the shift we make in September, to shift out of identifying with problems and move more into a multidimensional process of healing by you becoming the course corrective solution. That as you dare to treat yourself differently, to speak to yourself the way you wish others would have or could have, to do things for yourself the way you wish others would have or could have, you are literally rescuing the memory of your innocence, like a soul retrieval out of the limbic loop of those memories and bringing them back into their new home in present moment time, the safe house known as your open heart. And so whatever way you are mistreated verbally, we ask ourselves, what do I wish they would have or could have said instead? And can those be the words I say to myself, not waiting for me to do something spectacular as a reward, and not withholding those words as a punishment for what I haven't achieved or got done? But just by the virtue of having lived through the life of someone who's been neglected, traumatized, or even abused, I'm fully aware that I am the one that deserves that course corrective treatment more often, not less, just by existing and being a unique expression of divinity that I am, have always been, and that no amount of abuse or trauma can take away from me. Let this be one of a few steps you take in this September to remember. You can also unhook from identifying with the pain of regret. And you can look at any time in your life where you feel the most ashamed of the action steps you've taken. Maybe there's a sense of I'm ashamed of the way I behaved in the presence of another person. Maybe there's a sense of I'm ashamed of how I spoke to this person in the heat of emotional conflict. Maybe I said things I didn't mean, and maybe I didn't say enough of what I did mean. And you can always look back and say, God, if I knew now what, or if I knew back then what I know now, easy for me to say, right? If I knew then what I know now, I would have been a totally different person. So in honor of this September to remember, can you take any moment that you regret the most? Ask yourself, what do I wish I could have done in that moment? Instead of what I regret doing. And whatever that action step is, can you look in your present moment reality and find a place to act it out now? Because in the quantum field, even though through your ego you say, I lost the opportunity to do it in the moment and I failed. And that's why you're filled with shame. But in the quantum field, making a course corrective choice 1 year, 5 years, 10 years later, 10 days later, 1 hour later, is the same as doing it in the heat of the moment. So to the universe, there's no shame for what you didn't do in a moment of time. It is simply you set yourself up for a greater learning, and how much time and how much expansion and how much awareness do you need in order to become aware of the choice that you weren't aware of in that moment. And even though your ego says it doesn't count now, I failed, that's just a thought in your head. The truth is, no matter how far back that moment of regret goes, if you can pinpoint the very choice you wish you could have made then and look for a place to act it out now, the course correction shifts the quantum field the same way as if you would have acted it out in the heat of the moment. Because the ego is an identity confined by the dimension of time, it's only your ego that thinks everything has to happen at a certain moment of time as a make it or break it performance, where there is a pass and a fail, a reward and a punishment, a win and a lose. The truth is, we set ourselves up for journeys of higher knowing and expansion. And if you couldn't make a choice before, you will be put on a journey to inevitably make that choice somewhere along the way. And as long as that choice is made, which it will always be made, the universe counts that as a lesson being made complete. So can you take pressure off yourself? Can you take a moment to pause any pattern of self-incrimination and self-criticism that might be pretending to be self-awareness? Can we pause bullying ourselves and stop pretending it's mindfulness? For true mindfulness is to say, if I wish to unravel any identification with regret, I look at the choices I've made I'm the most ashamed of. I look in my present moment to find where I can act those out. And even at the very least, if you don't find areas of your life to act them out, you can always approach someone with whom you acted inappropriately with and say, I remember this time in the past and I treated you this way. I wish then I could have said this to you, and I want to say it to you right now as a way of giving you the gift that you deserve to receive from me. Can we take that step, if need be, in honor of our September to remember? And you can even expand your mind and allow the inner guidance in you to guide you throughout all the nuances. What are the words that you can spend time saying to yourself now that neutralizes the harassment, the neglect, the trauma, and the abuse that you've endured from people from your past? as a way of unhooking from the identification of victimhood. So to move from using the spiritual journey to solve problems to allowing life to be a multidimensional process of coming back home to the divine I am that you are. And how can you unhook from any identification to shame and regret? By facing any regretful choice or reaction you had, looking for places in your present moment to be that course correction, even appealing to those and saying, here's how I acted before and here's how I wish I could have been, so let me offer this gift to you. And even if it's with someone who has already left this planet and crossed over to the other side, you can either write them a letter or you can just visualize them in front of you. And you can speak and have that conversation with them, which might feel like it's happening in your imagination. But when your imagination is not run by your ego, it is actually a doorway into the afterlife. So what we think we're imagining is a portal we're opening to connect with those who are already on the other side, cheering us on while they step further into the embodiment of their soul's highest expression. So maybe take a moment right now. What aspect of your past can you, instead of overly mentally processing it, instead of oscillating in the bartering and negotiation of why, instead of negotiating with yourself of if only I could have been different, this would have been different. How can we allow the past to be the past, but dare to learn from it? And how can we look at anything of the past and say, anything that still lingers as a grudge I hold, as a regret I carry, as a pain I feel on a reoccurring basis, what is the course corrective action that I can take that allows me to be the solution instead of someone identifying with the orbiting memories of problem? How can I step forward into higher timelines where my journey is more about experiencing the never-ending brightness of my ever-expanding vibration instead of moving around in the marketplace of spirituality looking for a new magic trick to make it all disappear? For if you could make it all disappear so quickly, it would have no meaning for its existence. And even the things that bring us the greatest pain and torment and agitation exist for far more meaningful reasons that await our discovery. And this is why love is here for us. So that even as we are unearthing all the nuances of why this existed and what it's helping us in our evolution and how it's helping us in our evolution, we don't have to rush to relief and live in the avoidance of pain. And we can slow down the journey to ensure that we are seeing from the most sacred perspective by giving ourselves the most course-corrective gift of all, a chance to be loved, valued, and validated exactly as we are, as a way of telling yourself, no matter how many people took their pain out on you, you're never too much for me. No matter how much neglect, trauma, injustice, and abuse you endured, that you survived, may my love remind you of the wholeness you are. And no matter how much regret you feel engulfed by, may my love inspire you to make the different choices now that course corrects anything in the past we wish were different. May my love set you free. May my love make it safe for you to feel exactly how you feel. And may my love remind you that no matter how you feel, you have never ventured out of the heart of the divine. And these are words that you would say to yourself because you are the microphone the divine speaks through. And it is the divine I am saying those words to itself as you. May you remember the love that you are. And may you love yourself so triumphantly, so incredibly, so immaculately, that you allow the past to be an opportunity to course correct in present moment time. For the way we release attachments to the past is by learning from it and becoming today what was missing any time before. You're not going to release your past by throwing it into a trash can, ditching it into an alley, taking it with you to yoga class and then running in the opposite direction. You're going to release your past by bowing in its presence and saying, thank you for teaching me and reminding me to make the choices that make today an opportunity to shift timelines. Saying goodbye to the past, not because I've decided to push it away, but to say goodbye to a past that has completed its journey of teaching me all it's here to teach me. Thank you, beloved past, for being such a wise teacher. Thank you, time, for being the narrator of all that I'm learning from the past and implementing into the present. And thank you, beloved divine I am, for reminding me that my healing journey is not a case of reward and punishment. I'm not here to work through my journey as fast as possible. I'm not meant to try to learn each thing as fast as possible so I can maximize pleasure and minimize pain. Thank you for reminding me how to face this path directly and to shine my light in true nobility, and to remember that the only way out is in. And if there is such a thing as transcending life, it is only stepping forward to be a way shower of love. So as I offer you this transmission in celebration of our September to Remember, where the greatest remembrance is taking time to remember your divinity, remember the love that you are by daring to love yourself more often, not less. And even as you move through the world, whether walking down the street or passing people in traffic, can you honor this September to Remember by each person you see saying to yourself, may their divinity expand even brighter within them. May you be blessed by the love that you are. And so it's almost like you're living in a video game where you are blessing other people with greater divine remembrance and greater availability to love by daring to see their divinity and daring to love them. And even if you don't see divine qualities within them, you know that if someone exists in form, the form is only made up of the fabric of divinity. And maybe you can't see their divinity because it's so buried by the pain of what hasn't been faced or processed. And so we say to a person like that, may your divinity make it all right for you. May the divine I am escort you home to the love that you are. And even as you drive to the grocery store, you can even just say, I love you to every car you pass by. Or you can say, I honor their divine I am. And by the time you get to the grocery store, how many hearts have you opened? How many energy fields have you blessed? And through the law of one, how much greater awareness will you have to love? And how much more in connection will you be to your divinity just by taking the time to play that beautiful spiritual multidimensional video game making the most of your time, even if it's driving from your home to the grocery store and back. In what way are you called to celebrate this September to remember? Maybe it's course correcting your past with different present moment choices. Maybe it's looking at things you regret and acting differently in the present, or maybe it's just taking time to love yourself and to bless other people's divinity more often. For if you seem to live in a world where it looks like things are in chaos and things are falling apart, then it seems as if your honoring of other people's divinity is needed most. We no longer are under the impression that a spiritual journey is about living in a controlled environment where we all are heart-centered and loving each other only when we all act appropriately. You do these dance steps, I do these dance steps. You're peaceful, I'm peaceful. Now let's do namaste. No. We're here to bring namaste into the cosmic ghetto. We're here to bring namaste into a world that doesn't know what that word means. We're here to bring namaste to a world that hasn't learned to crave its remembrance. We're here to bring namaste to a spiritual world that is so severely spiritually dehydrated it doesn't even know the water it needs. And so we just pass it along slowly, sometimes anonymously, graciously, blessing the divine I am, offering that gift to every person you see, not because of how they do or don't act, not because of what you think they do or don't deserve. If they exist in form, they are a manifestation of the divine, and you blessing their divinity will accelerate their journey towards the light, out of the darkness, into love, and out of fear. And isn't that what's going to help propel this world forward, is moving people out of fear and into love, out of attachments to darkness and into the remembrance of light. And there will always be opportunities where you are surrounded by people, places, and things where you can bless the divine I am as simply the fabric that all things are molded from. And through the law of one, when you bless one form, you bless all forms. And when you bless one form, you are the form that is transformed. And even if you only bless the form that you inhabit, all forms in the quantum field are affected in a positive way. In the comment section, how is this feeling to you? What are you feeling when you absorb the energy I'm transmitting? How are you feeling when I offer you the invitation for this September to remember? Joshua says some of them are more evil than words can speak, and that's why the light is always an intervention for the darkness. We don't have to entangle with the darkness, but we bless all dark beings with the ability to have their needs met by the light. Because a dark being is one who's begging for rehabilitation, and the light is what we offer. Confirmation. It feels good. Taryn says, I'm having epiphanies about my purpose and what I need to be creating. I love it. Expanded. Feel like home. I love this. Feels pleasant, good, peaceful. Bless me. Someone says, bless you. Thank you. Love you. And just to let you know a little bit of the energetics, the vibration you feel me channeling is the Divine Mother, Mother Mary. I recently did an Angel Academy call. It was last night, but you might be watching this video at a different time, where I was channeling how we access the quantum field through the Divine Feminine, through the words may and may I. May I remember my divinity. May I know the love always within me. May I learn from my past instead of being attached to it. And this beautiful frequency of the Divine Mother, Mother Mary, came through. And it's a frequency that's still pouring through me, which is why I was called to come and do this energy update, to share this vibration with you. This vibration of the Divine Feminine. The Divine Feminine that carries no scorn, that holds no grudge, that dismantles any pattern of toxic disempowerment, whether as toxic masculinity or toxic femininity. The Divine Mother melts it with a profound love that can be felt but cannot be described only by the word grace. So bring your deepest grudge. Bring your harshest injustice. Bring your most burning question you have for God and hand it over to the Divine Mother and let her melt it into light through the grace that is the Divine Feminine, only offered to balance the feminine and masculine, to activate sacred alchemy within you. To awaken light templates, codes of awakening that helps you remember your destiny as a co-creator and master alchemist, which doesn't mean you can control outcome. It means you demonstrate your highest power by learning to flow in harmony with reality. Bring your deepest pain, your most distracting symptom, and hand it over to the Divine Mother, who will return it to light, hand it back to you as your own power, through the immaculate grace that you feel now. For to serve the word of the Divine Mother is only to return yourself to your own power. For there is no serving the Divine Mother or the Heavenly Father in the absence of embracing the light known as you. To serve Source is to empower yourself. To listen to Source is to love yourself from one moment to the next. To honor the past is to learn from it. To celebrate the present is to be now what wasn't before, with no attachment to what should have been, when this moment is an open-ended space, inviting you to demonstrate what could have been, as a benefit for you and all. So please receive this light of the Divine Mother. Please receive these loving truths from the Heavenly Father. Remembering you are a child of Source, a divine alchemist, utilizing time like a paintbrush, painting your greatest masterpiece upon the canvas of life. As you allow this month of September to help you to remember your light, no matter how dark the world seems, to remember to love yourself, no matter how others behave or how the past treated you, and to remember that all beings are divine along their own path of self-discovery. And we don't honor people's divinity because they've earned it. We honor the divinity in all because it's the fabric through which everything is molded, and by honoring the divinity in all, more beings are awakened, less people are hurt. And if you remember how deeply you were hurt, so deeply that you don't wish for another person to experience what you endured, then we honor the divine, the divinity in all, to break the cycle of violence, racism, separation, segregation, abuse, violence, war, greed, persecution, trafficking, and all forms of imbalance. We do it for ourselves and we do it for all, for we are the one that is here, united as all. And maybe we try to repeat after me to help you really make this September a month to remember. Try this out loud with me. May I remember. Releasing attachments to the past occurs through my willingness to learn from it. May I treat myself now exactly the way I wish others should have or could have. May I enact the powerful choices today that erases shame and regret for the way I wish things could have been. And may I love myself to course correct any moment from the past I felt unloved. May I honor my divine I am to help expand the light in all. Knowing there's no such thing as waiting to feel safe. Before I step forward into the light. For it is stepping into the light that ensures my safety. Which means the safest place to be in a world of beings still remembering their brightness. Is to acknowledge their light. And allowing my safety to be felt by stepping forward in evolution. Instead of hiding in the past or hiding from the past, I'm afraid will repeat. In knowing it is so, may all attachments to the past, may all regrets and shame, and memories of abuse, trauma, and neglect be cleared out of my energy field. return to the source of its origin. Transmuted completely and healed to completion now. May I feel more of my light and divinity based on the words I've just spoken and the grace I have invoked. May I not try to be the one in charge of forgiveness. May I simply invite forgiveness by handing over whoever hurt me or the grudges I hold to the laws of karma to make it all right. May I allow grace to move me forward. May my light shine at a brighter frequency. May the divine I am make itself known more obviously now than ever before. And may I honor my journey. That is only a problem to the parts of me unaware of the process I'm in. It is not my job to teach these parts this process. It is not my job to solve their problems. For it is all solved by grace. And I simply invite grace in to do the work. Each time I love myself more, not less. May this be known. Just feel that. Pej asks, part of me doesn't feel safe to express their love and light, especially through singing and song. How can I help this part express its light more freely? By daring to sing the songs they're afraid to sing with your hand on your heart. Just like a wise parent would say, honey, I'm going to carry you through this, but we're going through this. So you just have to be a wise parent who cuddles instead of coddles. If you have a song in your heart, sing it loudly with your hand on your heart so those parts are always supported. When those parts say, I'm too scared to sing this song metaphorically or literally, it's just a way of saying, please don't forget me when you shine your light. And so you put your hand on your heart. So those parts always know, I'm here shining my light, but you are never forgotten. That's all it wants and needs. And in the comment section below, based on what I've shared with you, when in one sentence, what has this transmission helped inspire in you to allow this month to be a September to remember? I love all the comments I'm reading. I feel like I'm glowing. I feel this so deeply. So based on this transmission, just to help you integrate this, no pressure, no pass or fail, just invitation. In what way has this transmission invited you to make this month a September to remember? What will you be called to do just a little bit more often? I see forgiveness. To remember the divinity of me in all. Progress powered by forgiveness. I love this. Allowing me to let go of what doesn't serve me. And let me offer this reminder. In order to let go of what doesn't serve you, letting go without learning from what doesn't serve you is just a way of trying to bypass the pain of what doesn't serve you. So if there's something that doesn't serve you, what are you learning from it? And usually what doesn't serve us is teaching us how to do the opposite. So it's more of the case, instead of you letting it go, what doesn't serve you lets go of you. And it lets go of you because what doesn't serve you can't handle the vibrational shift of you acting in a course corrective manner. So instead of the belief that we have to let things go and to treat the spiritual path like a form of karate, let us see it as it's letting go of me once I've made the course corrective choices of what's good for me. When I choose what's good for me on a regular basis, what doesn't serve me has nothing more to teach me, and it lets go, bows in my presence, calls me a master, and returns to the light. And it seems like a lot of us are saying in the comments about forgiveness, so just as a way of offering you another benefit to make your September to remember a month to remember, let me just walk you through the way I teach forgiveness. And the wording is very specific because I'm always being given the words. And you know when I have you do the repeat after me or when I invite you to. And you know, no matter how long you've been following my work, the words I channel are very specific because they're being strung together to create codes of activation and clearing within you. And it's being brought to me directly from the Akashic Records. So I'm going to teach you the way I was taught how to offer forgiveness. And this is a fifth dimensional way. And again, we always want to word it in a way that allows us to forgive through the divine feminine. And so what you can do as a practice is you can say, may. First word is always may. Because may is opening up into an affirmation in the quantum field, but you're not trying to control time, you're harmonizing with time. So may is always the most respectful way to meet the divine you are, in cooperation instead of hostility or control. So may, and then fill in the blanks of the people that you're offering forgiveness. May so-and-so, may this person, may these people, whatever their names are, and state their names. May these people be forgiven. Notice I'm not saying I forgive, because when you say I forgive, it's often the ego trying to control forgiveness as a way of trying to control its experience. It's trying to do something good to earn God's reward or to escape God's punishment. So it's not I forgive, it's may, fill in the blank, be forgiven. And those specific words is taking whatever person hurt you or whatever you're carrying and you're handing it over to the law of karma. And the second part of it is, and may I be forgiven for any way I've knowingly or unknowingly used my history of pain to hold myself back. Feel the difference in that. May so-and-so be forgiven, and may I be forgiven for any which way I've used my history of pain to hold myself back. Do you feel how that decisively clears the slate? You can write this down. You can do it as often as you want. You can even do it on a broader perspective. May humanity be forgiven, and may I be forgiven for any way I have knowingly or unknowingly used humanity's pain to hold myself back. Feel that. If you want to get really gangster, you can say, may all dark agendas be forgiven, and may I be forgiven for any way in which I've knowingly or unknowingly used my awareness of their agenda to hold myself back. Now feel that for a moment. May all be forgiven, and may I be forgiven for any way I have knowingly or unknowingly used my awareness of all to hold myself back. Can you feel the difference in this? I'm seeing your feedback. Love, love, love. That is very strong. Love is very strong, but it's a strength demonstrated through grace. And you're feeling it as you receive it right now. Everyone's feeling the difference. Because we started with the word may, and we used the power of the divine feminine to connect with the quantum field. We use the power of the divine masculine to contemplate, to comprehend the quantum field. We use the power of the divine feminine to co-create, conceive, and to birth and to express the quantum field. It all works together as one. What an honor it is to serve you all. And I want to invite you all, and if you see the top comment posted on this video, you will see it's a link to my upcoming tour. I have an upcoming tour called Healed by Love Live, where I'm coming to a city near you to offer group healing events. Now, if you can feel the immensity of energy through your screen right now, what it's like in person is multiplied. And if you click the link, you can find the nearest city that I'm coming to and join me for live events where what you've experienced right now is just a taste of the healing grace that life is here to offer you through this transmission I offer. Please join me in person. Let us come together. Let us love together. Let us feel together. Let us heal together. Because it's our time to step forward and show the world that love always wins. And on behalf of the quantum field, love is already won. We are simply deciding the timeline and path of getting there. And through this transmission you are receiving, it confirms that you are saying yes to the timelines of being guided by the grace of both the Divine Mother and Heavenly Father. You are saying yes to allow love to show you the way. You are saying yes to finding your way through the power of your light, instead of needing to swirl in darkness or have something to overly process. You are saying yes to returning home to the light that is always within you. You are saying yes to fully becoming the love that you are. I look forward to being with you in person. It's always an honor to connect with you. Thank you for receiving this energy update. And thank you for being such breathtaking expressions of the divine I am. Thank you for being the heaven on earth that all prophets and spiritual texts have prophesied. It is you who I serve. I love you. Namaste.